Hello, I'm Miss Charmer.
And I'm Becky Tuxford, Assistant Head Teacher for Pastoral and Designated Safeguarding Lead at Northease Manor School.
We'd like to welcome you to our new Wellbeing programme called Flourish, which we're going to be uploading to YouTube on a Friday, so we're calling it Flourish Fridays.
Now, one of the things you do need to be aware of is obviously we take safeguarding very seriously here at Northease Manor. So in our Flourish Friday programme, we will not be featuring any of our students. We have turned the comments off YouTube, so students will not be able to comment on it just to protect their identities. One of the things that we will do is we can direct them to our Facebook page where they can leave any tips or any comments on what they think of what we're showing.
Thank you. So what we're thinking about is how to help students be a well-being and stay being well. So Mr. Ward gave an assembly this week to welcome everybody to the new term, and he talked about your academic progress, because we've got a lot of different things happening this term, haven't we, Miss Tuxford, in terms of study and the day?
We have. Now we've switched to a full online programme. So each child has got their personalised timetable, which has their Zoom links already copied in there. So all they need to do is press the Zoom link and it will take them to their lesson. Their academic progress will be obviously monitored as always by their teacher. And one of the great things is we've seen some amazing work this week. So keep up the hard work, everybody.
And Mr. Ward also talked about staying connected. Do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we think is really important is the community that we've got here at Northease. So as part of our Flourish programme, we've actually put 2 tutor times in a day. Now, you might not always want to connect with the people in your tutor group. However, the opportunity is there to see your friends, to talk to your tutor. They'll be running through any wellbeing activities for you to do, but also they'll be there for you to just have a chat with, maybe do a couple of fun activities. So really stay connected with the people around you in school.
And he also talked about your well-being in general. So just so you know that Northease as a whole is taking your well-being very seriously, and it means a lot to us for you to be well and healthy during these unprecedented times. So please help us to help you by letting us know if you're having any issues at all, so that we can support you. So what is well-being? It's really hard to describe, isn't it, sometimes? So we're going to spend the next few days in your tutor times thinking about well-being a bit more, so you'll have the opportunity to explore it a bit more. So some people think about well-being in terms of their physical bodies, don't they? So sort of making sure that you're fit and healthy and getting exercise and fresh air and those sorts of things. But some of people think about their mental well-being as well, all the sort of thoughts that might go around your head and all of the stresses and all of that sort of thing. And then add to that your emotions and your feelings, and add to that all of your family and social relationships and friendships. All of that adds up to your whole well-being. So there's a lot of things in there, isn't there, Miss Tuxford, that can go wrong or can be stressful.
Yeah, and at any one time, so you might not have the full balance. And I think one of the things that we really want to help you with at Northease is we want you to balance that physical, mental, emotional, and the community around you. So your family and social health, because actually we're looking at the whole person, and that's really important.
Absolutely. So this week, start thinking about as many words, phrases, or ideas that link to wellbeing as you can, because tutors are going to be asking you for those lists to bring to tutor groups to have a bit of a wider discussion. So you can ask your family members to help as well. So here's some of the things that students have told us so far about how they're managing with the new school routine and the new day. So quite a few of you have said that it's quite hard to get into a routine. So Miss Tux was just going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I was thinking about the routine, and the one thing that I thought is we've just come back from having 3 weeks off at Christmas. And so our routines are all over the place. We're trying to get used to having to get up early, to have quite a long day of learning. So routines take a little while to become embedded. So what's really important is actually that you stick with it and you really try and get hold of the routine. You've got your timetables to follow, but the routine extends way beyond that, and it extends into when you wake up, what time you have your breakfast, making sure you have breaks, what time you have your lunch. And so it's really important. I know it's hard, but you will get used to it. And we've seen that already this week as people have gradually started to get used to their routines, and things have become a lot calmer.
Yeah, and I think these are the things that are on here that students have said all linked to that probably, Miss. So getting tired, their brains feeling like they're hurting because they're having to think all the time, and it's also being on screens all the time, which can cause that and cause headaches and stuff like that. And people are saying that there's a lot to remember. There's a lot fitting in the day more than there was last term and the term before, because this is our, third term of having to change things again. So that can make it feel like a very long day. So what advice have you got for students with all of that?
Well, I think one of the big things to remember is the day is actually the same time as it was last term. We're not actually changing anything different. So in a way, we need to shift our mindset a little bit and think quite positive. For those who are not coming into school, you've got a little bit more time. It might not be as stressful in the morning, having to get ready and get out of the house, or getting up really, really early for taxis. So I think it's really important that for things like when you're feeling that you're a little bit stressed, or your brain's feeling tired, or you've got headaches, you have a little break away, and you maybe listen to some calming music, or you might read something, anything that's not taxing on your brain. Have a drink, have something to eat, and have 10 minutes of just relaxation will really help you.
Yeah, and if they're really struggling after that, the key message is for them to tell somebody, isn't it? Who can they talk to?
Yeah. So your tutors are there to support you, and so you can either talk to your tutor if you're really struggling, or you can talk to your mum and dad and they can communicate with the tutor. We are here to support you, and as Northease is a very individualized school, not one size doesn't fit all. So we're used to adapting to what can help you. So if you need to reduce your timetable, or maybe if there's certain lessons that you're finding quite stressful and it's causing you anxiety, speak to your tutor, because we can definitely help you and maybe take that anxiety away for the time being.
Thank you. So just remember, there's a lot going on, and we just need to know that you're okay. So you need to take some responsibility for that, and for letting us know if there's anything we can do to help. And keep talking to us through the Facebook page as well. So we're just going to talk through some tips now. I'm just going to move Miss Tuxford and I over here. So we've been told by quite a lot of students that are studying at home that they find it's helped to do the same routines as when they come into school. So getting up at the same time as they normally would for school. And for some people, they can get into the mindset for school at home if they put their school uniform on. So I know that can sort of shift a bit, because it's quite hard, isn't it, to sort of, when you're at home and then you're suddenly at school at home, to sort of get your mindset out of the games you're playing, or the telly you're watching, or whatever you were doing, into sitting down and getting your schoolwork done. So that can be something that really helps you. And what do you think about having a sort of school area to work in, Miss Tuxford?
I think it's really important. I think, like you were saying a second ago, is that when you're in the same place, and you need to feel like you're stepping into something and stepping away, because otherwise you can become overwhelmed with thinking about school if it's there in your place of home as well. So I think it's really important that you have a quiet space away from the brothers and sisters who might be running up behind you, and it's somewhere where you put your mobile phone away. And you have set times that you actually go on it, because it is a big distraction, or your games consoles, anything like your Xbox or PlayStations, and have set time for those things. So do your school day, do your lesson, and then maybe at break time, if you need to have a little bit of time away from school, you then got to go to another area to be able to access those things.
I think that's really good advice. And as you said earlier, it's going to take time for some people to get into these new routines, but this is all just, take one step at a time. And it does help to follow the school timetable. So you can use your break and lunch times to go on your mobile phones and your games and things like that. But make sure that you know, excuse me, make sure that you know if you've got therapies or any additional meetings or anywhere else that you need to be rather than in your lesson. And try and write that in on your timetable so that you're not having to remember it all in your head.
The timetables have been produced, so they've got all your Zoom link, lesson links in there. So once you get the Zoom over from your therapist, you can add it to your timetable, and then it's easy for you. You just need to click on the link and it should take you straight to that session.
Okay, so how about looking after your physical self then? So getting yourself ready for learning and ready for the school day really helps to eat a breakfast, if you do eat breakfast, and I know some of you don't eat breakfast, but if you eat a breakfast, we were talking earlier and Miss Tuxford had some really good tips.
Yeah, I think it's really important that you have quite a substantial breakfast, because if you have something small, and I know when people are on the run or they're leaving the house quickly, they might just quickly grab a cereal bar or a piece of fruit and have that as breakfast. Whereas actually for your brain to work and for you to be able to focus, you need something quite substantial. So I'd recommend something like porridge, which is a slow releasing energy. So that should keep you fuller for longer. And then you should be able to get through to break time. I had pancakes this morning.
Yeah, and you can always eat snacks, healthier snacks in between. Drink plenty of water as well. And I think that's really important, isn't it? A lot of us forget, especially when we're at home for some reason. We don't drink as much as we might do when we're at school. And then Miss Tuxford is a massive fan, as most of you will know by now, of Joe Wicks. So tell us why you think exercise is so important.
I think exercise is fantastic for waking yourself up, for feeling more energized, and actually in general, just for feeling a bit fitter and healthier. So I like to exercise in the morning. And as Joe Wicks says, you never regret exercise once you've done it. You might feel you're not really liking it as you're going along, but once you've done it, you actually always feel more energized. And I think that's really important when you've got quite a long day ahead of you. So I think on a Monday, a Wednesday and a Friday, if you can do PE with Joe, I would highly recommend it.
And what happens if they've got lessons during that time?
If you've got lessons during that time, now it depends on your age as well, because if you're in the middle of your GCSEs, you might actually want to focus in and actually have that Zoom lesson. However, speak to your tutor about it or your teachers, because actually exercise is so important. It might be something that we can shift to do your lesson a bit later, or we could adapt by talking you through online, and we could communicate via email to talk through certain aspects. So definitely speak to your tutor about that and actually tell them that you'd really like to do that exercise in the morning. You will have PE as part of your timetable because it is part of the national curriculum, and actually Joe Wicks is a perfect PE teacher. He'll motivate you and keep you going.
Thank you, Miss Tuxford. And with all these early starts as well, it is important to go to bed early and make sure that you get plenty of rest and plenty of sleep, and definitely plenty of rest even if you don't sleep that whole time, because it's really important that your body has time to switch down, as well as your brain downloading everything from the day. And our thoughts can race around when there's been so much information coming in all day as well. So please be kind to yourself and try and get yourselves to bed at a really reasonable hour. We've all been used to staying up too late over Christmas and New Year, I'm sure. And the other tip is take regular breaks.
This is really important. Definitely need regular breaks. And Miss, you were talking about movement breaks earlier.
Yeah, so if you're in school, then you might be encouraged and reminded to take movement breaks. So you're going to have to take responsibility for that yourself as if you're at home. And that might mean just walking away from the computer. Don't just walk away from a lesson. Maybe send something in the chat, or raise a hand, or let your teacher know that you're taking a movement break. Or maybe tutors can have organised, I'm sure there's a lot of them are doing it anyway now. Teachers are doing the movement breaks in the lessons as well. So don't be frightened to say that, because it's really important, especially as we're on screens all the time. So just a reminder as well that you can remember your protective behaviours. which is about us all having the right to feel safe all of the time, and that we can talk with someone about anything, even if it feels awful or small. So just remember that even though you might not be physically in school, you still need to talk to us, well, talk to teachers if you're finding something difficult or something's making you anxious or worried. They can join in on tutor time too, can't they?
Yeah, that's what I was about to jump in. Sorry for interrupting you. I think it's really important that you do talk to your tutor and let them know if things aren't really working or if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, because in these times it's quite easy to everything to start pile on top of you, and I think that communication is really important and quite vital right now.
You might not get time in your tutor group to actually bring these things up, so you can email as well, can't you, Miss Tuxford? If you want to, you can email
Definitely.
your tutors.
You can email your tutors personally if you want to. We've all got the school email, or alternatively speak to mum and dad or your parents and actually have a chat with them about how you're feeling. I think it's really important that we all keep talking at this moment in time, because obviously we're all there to get through this situation together and to support each other.
And remember your early warning signs. So just try to remember when things are feeling very anxious and stressy in your body before it gets too big. So the earlier you tell someone, the earlier you can get help with something. And the same goes if you haven't had time to ask a question in a lesson or have a question answered in a lesson, please don't just keep it in your head. You can write it down and email it to your teacher, or you can ask your parents, or you can ask another member of staff to answer your question for you. So don't just go away leaving things unanswered. We're going to talk a little bit about your circle of safety now, and just to remind you really that even though you're all at home and you're doing brilliant with social distancing and you're doing brilliant at lockdown rules and that kind of thing, that you do have a circle of safety, and here's you at the center of that, and the closest people to you will be your family, the people who are in your bubble at home, and then you'll have your friends around you, the green section here. Some of them you might see if you're coming into school, which must be nice, and some of you won't be seeing friends at all in person, but you might be talking on the phone or online. And then we've got this yellow section, it's a bit further away from you at the centre there, and this is called acquaintances. What do we mean by acquaintances, Miss Tuxford?
So acquaintances are the people that you know, and you might see them, walk past them, say hello to them, but they're not necessarily your friends or good friends. So it's people that you know, and you know their name and you know who they are, and you might know a little bit about them, but you wouldn't actually classify them as friends. They can become friends once you get to know them a little bit better.
Yeah, so the people that you've generally met in your life, aren't they? But they might not be as close to you as your family and friends are here. And then we're obviously on the red zone here, we've got strangers, and we just want to remind you that strangers are people that you haven't met. And we mean that you haven't met in person, in real life, not just online. And at the moment, with everything being online, there are lots of strangers hanging around in the background online, and just because they're talking to you and you feel you're at a safe distance, it's not always safe. So our advice is to not talk to anybody online at the moment that you haven't actually met in real life at all, not even as an acquaintance or a professional helper.
And I think what's really important is if anybody contacts you, and it might be through direct messages, through Instagram or anything like that, and you don't know that person, you've not met that person, is actually you do tell your mum and dad, tell your professional helpers around you, because there is a lot of people, and because everything is such a virtual world at the moment, sometimes people can feel a little bit safe in it, whereas actually people are just as much at danger. So you do definitely need to tell people if a stranger contacts you in any way.
Yeah, and it's always good because then you can talk it through with somebody and make some safer choices. So that's it for this circle of safety, and that comes to the end of our first ever Flourish video of being a well-being. So here's some things you can do to help from now. Do you want to go through them, Miss Tuxford?
Yes, so first of all, what we'd like you to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel. Now, you won't be able to comment, remember, because obviously we are not having any comments on there. But yes, subscribe and you can follow us, and we will be sending out the YouTube link when we send out details about assemblies and what's happening. Then we'd love for you to share with your friends and family. So your friends are the people you know very well, and your family are the close people around you. So share with friends and family. And finally, we would like you to post your comments on the school Facebook page so we can get your feedback on your thoughts of the information we're sharing with you. And we will be uploading information weekly, and there'll be activities for you to do with your tutors, a link to the weekly PowerPoints and videos that we do.
Okay, so that ends our very first video. So thank you all for watching, and do let Miss Tuxford know if you've got any queries or any questions, and we'll send you another video next week.
And stay safe, everyone.
Stay safe,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.